Now, ladies and gentlemen, I got a comment on my channel saying that I should watch my belly or whatever, and that's, to me that doesn't bother me. I'm not worried about it. I don't think it's a huge deal, that people are saying that to me. I'm like really gorgeous, right? I'm like perfectly thin. I diet and exercise to a point where I'm very healthy looking and very beautiful. So, when you get that kind of comment, you're thinking to yourself, that person's obviously trying to trigger an emotion or whatever in you to make you lose weight even further. And I'm very good looking, like I'm like super good looking. So to me, I just, that's uncalled for in my opinion. But I mean, because I'm a healthy minded person, I don't take it personally. I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't care really. It's not a huge deal. And I think it could be fitter, but I know I'm really gorgeous, But anyway, I mean, I think the only time it becomes a problem when people make these comments is when someone's in their 20s or someone's like in their 30s, or no, not 30s, but necessarily because 30s are more mature, but someone's in their 20s or they're younger than their 20s. They might be teens or even younger, and they do videos, and you get these people throwing comments, I think that's really tough. I think it's like, if you see a child or a 20-year-old, 20-year-olds are developed a lot, but I don't think they're developed enough to handle criticism like that. Like, if there was a 20-year-old like that looked like me, and they were told the same thing, and they looked really good, they looked super fit and crazy good, and they got that same compliment, I can see an eating disorder happen. I really think that some people really get an eating disorder from that comment. And for me, I'm like, well, you can't get any better looking than this. I mean, you gotta be kidding me, obviously. And the thing I don't understand with these hater comments, I totally get that maybe you get these comments too, or you're trying to impress your friend, or whatever you're trying to do. I don't know what your point is, but I mean, don't you think that some of these things are very harmful? Like, why would you make these comments? Obviously your life mustn't be going very well if you're making a comment like that to someone that's super fit. Um, Body shaming does happen though, and people will make these comments. It's not like you can really get away from these things. We live in a society where people that have all these things, like good weights and like fit like crazy and gorgeous face and like me, will want to show it all off and be performing like crazy. And then we have those people that maybe they do fit the category but don't feel it, or maybe they don't fit the category and want to make these comments. And you're like, at some point, you have to say enough is enough, right? But I mean, for me, I don't mind. I mean, I don't care. I'm very lucky to look as gorgeous as I do and be as gorgeous as I am. I don't think it's a huge deal. But like some people really take offense to that. Like the girl from I think the band is called the Little Mix, or what's that band called? The Mix or the Little Mix or something. She got told she was fat over and over and over again, and she wasn't fat. She was very thin. She was very beautiful, but she got told that. And at some point you're like, well, I mean, for me, I have a fantasy look. I have a very crazy good look. I mean, my look is intensely good. Most people would only dream of looking like this in a lifetime, let alone every day. I think only 2 years I was overweight. And every other decade or time in my life, every other year in my life, I was gorgeously thin and fit. So and my dad was the same way. He had times where he was overweight, but he never gained weight after a certain point. So I'm like the same way. And I probably will never gain weight ever again. I'll probably be thin all my life. So anyway, and gorgeous. Anyway, so I'm like, when you see these comments, you're like, oh my God, like how can you? Well, when you see someone like me, yeah. Well, sorry. The point I was trying to make is like, I get lost in this world where I'm not adequate. Well, I don't think I'm not adequate. I think I'm very adequate. But I get lost in this world where I'm like, I don't see people that are doing badly because I'm so busy thinking about how I can improve. Yet most people couldn't even come close to what I look like. So for me to think anything bad about myself would be ridiculous. I mean, people would be like, "How dare you feel bad about yourself? You're gorgeous." So when you get all these comments, you sometimes get confused by the whole thing. But really, if you're like really really gorgeous, there's nothing you need to change. There's nothing you need to worry about. Yet you have all these people saying all these things, and you think, "Oh my God, it's a total crisis." Yet I'm like so gorgeous that people can't even come near how I look. People can't even come near how I am. And yet I've got people saying things that are like totally dramatic and traumatic and really negative. So you just get lost in this world where you're like, okay, so maybe I'm not the fantasy I think I am, which I know I am. But anyway, so it's crazy. And it's like people would only dream of looking like me and being like me, yet I've got all these people criticizing me. So to be me is not as easy as it might seem. But then I realize this and I'm like, wait a minute, darling. So, it's crazy, and it's like, well, how fair is that? But that's just the sad reality. That's why celebrities get plastic surgery when they don't need it. And that's why people get into all these situations because people criticize them badly. Not always that from that, but it's like if you're a celebrity that was always gorgeous and thin and you gain weight and you get a million comments saying how you've gained weight or you're older looking or you don't look as good, well, who's going to want to have that? Like, why would you want to deal with that? But, and then those people might commit suicide or feel bad or hide from the limelight. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not a reality dictates otherwise, yet you're getting all these comments, right? So anyway, totally enjoyed the show, guys. Melina's loves performing for you guys. Um, so remember, guys, if you get negative comments and you know you're gorgeous and hey, like for me, I constantly think about these things sometimes, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm like the total fantasy. Like I can only imagine how someone else would think about this. So anyway, that's where I tell myself, you are a fantasy. There's no point in thinking anything negative about yourself. You're like the king and queen of the world. Anything you want to find out. And maybe you are too, darling. Bye bye.